Okay, everyone. Hello. Happy New Year to everyone. Happy 2022, whatever that is. And welcome to the show. I'm very excited today to have an amazing guest on. One of the ones I'm most excited for ever. It's the conspiracy music guru. I'm so excited I can't get my words out. How are you doing, Alex?
I'm all right, mate. Thanks for having me on. Happy New Year, if you believe it's the new year, but we'll get into that maybe. But thanks for having me on. Cheers.
Aye, just to let everyone know, you're wearing the headphones because we had a technical issue. It's not your preferred choice.
No, I feel like I look like Mickey Mouse. They're terrible things, aren't they, these things? But, we'll suffer it, I suppose.
I had a bit of an echo. So anyway, thanks very much for coming to the show. I've been a big fan of your work ever since your first video, way back when, Don't Believe in Gravity, I think it was. And I've been listening to a few of your interviews, and it was quite interesting in just how kind of Flat Earth Man just kind of came to be spontaneously almost. You had the idea for the song, and then you went to the studio and the character came out. But just before we get to that, can we talk about your history and then, like, you weren't writing songs before, and what made you make the transition from kind of playing in the bars to then writing this kind of music?
I think, I did my apprenticeship playing in the bars and the clubs, and doing that, just playing to 4 people or playing to 10 people, and 9 of them were drunk. And I've done my apprenticeship doing that, and then I moved to Spain, and I was started on my awakening journey in sort of 2012, a couple of years after I moved to Spain, and then I started having, just looking at stuff, really, just researching stuff, and just trying to find out a little bit more of who I am, why I am, where we are, all these big questions that you think have no answers. So I started sort of on the journey, so to speak. And when I discovered some stuff, that here I was with this information that I could finally put into music. No longer was I singing songs about breakups and love and all of that sort of stuff, which is, to me now, that's all really tepid, boring sort of stuff. Now I've got all this information, I can actually, make a noise, a song and dance about it. Literally, that's what I wanted to do. I had all this information. It was like this creative burst, and I wanted to get it out there. And but as we discussed before we came on air, like I used the character to sort of hide behind, in a way. I created a character because the stuff I was singing about was so woo-woo, so far out there, that there's no way that I was going to do it seriously. I had to, hide behind that layer of comedy or hide behind a character. So it was a good, effective way of getting that music out. So, I started looking into the globe lie, the conspiracy that the globe might just be, where we live is not quite what they tell us. And it just absolutely blew my mind. And I ended up writing a song in my phone called Flat Earth Man. And I put that poem in.
Who was the first kind of person then? Was it Eric Dubai and Mark Sargent? Because they were the early ones of the Flat Earth kind of thing.
This was around 2016 when I was looking at those. And in fact, the very first video that I watched was a video called "They Are Hiding God with the Biggest Secret." And because I was being offered the Flat Earth videos, and of course I was going, what a load of nonsense! Who believes that crap? Why is YouTube offering me Flat Earth? Off with that stuff. And then, but of course, this other title was very intriguing to me. They are hiding God with the biggest secrets. Like, what? Okay, that's interesting. So have a listen to that, and it turned out to what we now know is Mark Sargent's Flat Earth Clues. And after the 2 hours of watching that, he'd sowed the seed, and that was enough. And then, of course, YouTube was offering, and now I knew what the Flat Earth was like. Okay, Flat Earth is not so fucking stupid. Let's have a little bit more. Let's have a little bit more information on that topic. And I just it was a bit of an addiction, really. It was just so fascinating to me. So fascinating to me. Now I knew that it wasn't this ridiculous, stupid tinfoil hat conspiracy theory. Now that I actually knew there was some meat and bones to it, I was like, wow, this is just blowing my mind.
What kind of things made you think that then? Just for an audience who might not be aware of this idea of Flat Earth, might think it's still ridiculous. What things in particular can you remember saying, oh, first of all, your eyes, you look around you Flat Earth, actually, it doesn't seem like we're moving, if you just logically think of that.
I mean, those feelings for me came a little bit later, but for me to understand that NASA was faking it, we get all of our information, all of our space and cosmological information from this one organization that's been around for how long, and they get ridiculous amounts of, just ridiculous funding, like
$1 million a day or something like that.
65 million a day to show us cartoons. And once you start seeing harnesses on the ISS, and then you start reviewing the Apollo mission footages, and you go, oh, right, okay, I get it. It was a big psyop, right? And that just blew, just to know that the information that we get is all our space information is coming from NASA. Just to know that that can't be trusted anymore. You know, these guys that were funded by or started by occultists and Nazis, this organization, I'm to trust these guys now? Like, when all they give us is CGI and cartoons, hold on, what the fuck is going on here? So once that was kind of, you know, out the way, like, okay, these where we get our space information from, they're clearly bullshitters, they're clearly liars, Satanists and occultists. Then you go, well, hold on, let's just have a look around here. You know, there seems to be a severe lack of curvature. You know, and we don't seem to be spinning and orbiting and wobbling and flying through this ever-expanding vacuum. It's just like, hold on.
How do the stars stay fixed all the time, you know? There's no, like...
There's no parallax. There's no parallax. We see the same thing over and over and over and over again, you know, but we're supposed to be, like, rocketing through the universe at these ridiculous speeds, but nothing changes. Everything after year resets. The great clock in the sky resets.
Well, even like the massive water, you know, it's how big the oceans are. For them to be spinning at, say, at the equator, it's like 1,000 miles per hour, and for no water to be flying off and be perfectly still, but yet you got helium balloon and it rises, but gravity keeps everything else down. But that's another lie as well, obviously.
Yeah, well, I made a song about that called "Don't Believe in Gravity," and I touched on, you know, that this ball is able to suck these oceans and buildings, and people are walking upside down on this spinning things, but yet birds and insects fly unaffected. Gravity must be so selective, right? So yeah, it's just when you start actually analysing what you've been told, you're like, oh, okay, so this is a theory. So gravity's a bullshit, right? It's just you just believe it. You just believe everything you've been given. You just don't question it because it's coming from someone older than you, a perceived authority. You just don't question it. But when you do start questioning, your whole paradigm shatters. And for me, it's brilliant. Okay, I've got a new paradigm now. I've got something to sing about. I've got something to put into music. No more am I singing about Jenny, who I broke up with, or whatever. You know, it's like well, I'm singing about stuff that actually matters. You know, that's to me, that's what I'm doing.
It's funny you mentioned that because, you know, like I love country music, but that's because my mother, you know, brought me up with this country music, Willie Nelson and Johnny Cash and all that. But I realised the origins of these things, it's actually intentional to make it small-minded stuff and to make these songs quite depressing and the blues and all that stuff, so that we have that in our culture quite a lot. We could have joyous, happy, amazing music out there, and we feel amazing. Like, first of all, you've also, it's not just your conspiracy music guru, you've also done 432 Hertz album, and I've listened to a couple of tracks from that, and even just, wow, that's an amazing experience. Just a difference in how you're recording.
It's the exact, yeah. I'm trying to make music which is the exact polar opposite of what the controllers want. The controllers want that simple-minded music. I think that's why they call blues music the devil's music, because what it does is it put music into 3 chords. Like da 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 da. Oh, it's just really simple. Blues music. I happen to really like blues because it's simple. I can navigate my way around blues because it's simple. But if you cast your mind back 100, 200 years ago, the kind of music that the people were listening to then, it's really higher-minded stuff. You know, it's symphonic. It uses like multiple musicians all working in symphony together, just making this such beautiful music, and in the right frequency. I would imagine that's incredibly moving kind of music. But now we have this 3-chord blues stuff and R&B, and this music has been utterly bastardized, let alone what they're doing with the frequency and what they're doing with compressing it. The music could have such power if it was done correctly, if it wasn't compressed, if it was actually using conscious lyrics, if it was actually using, you know, the right frequency and stuff. But it is the bastardization of music. It's been utterly screwed with. Of course they've screwed with it. The Rockefellers are all behind that change from 432 to 440. They funded it, so you have to question that. So yeah, I'm trying to make music that is the polar opposite of what the controllers want, and what the controller wants is this simple-minded music, the 3-chord stuff, which I do use because I'm using their kind of 3-chorded music and their catchy chorus. I'm using that in my Flat Earth Man album there. I'm using that a lot. So I'm using their system against them, but I'm flooding it with information, you know, with truth. It may sound like a comedic kind of hick kind of album, sort of country hick sort of album, but if you actually know what you're listening, if you can actually listen to the lyrics, they're in my opinion, life-changing lyrics.
Without a doubt, I was many songs I could quote, but it's one coming out right now. Is the 5G one. No amount of evidence will ever convince an idiot. But the amount of information you've got packed into that song about 5G, and then you've got the worker at the end kind of watching the football.
Yeah.
And it's just
exactly
that's what you're up against, you know.
So you get it. You get it. Most people won't see the message that's portrayed in that video. And all of my videos, you know, there's so many different subliminals that, you know, people like you and I will catch.
That's why from the get-go, and I must say though, the amount of time and effort you must put into those videos, because I do a bit of video editing myself. I've made one video that took me a month, but the ones you do have took it to a very high level from the get-go. Did you have those skills beforehand, or did you develop them as you wrote the song?
You can tell from what I've created how passionate I am about this, because of, as you see, the amount of effort that goes into one of my music videos took me about 3 months, which was Space is Fake. And there's so much going on in that. There's so many different. There's so much green. I've got a green screen down here that I just pulled down. So I do a lot of green screen editing, and I'm using iMovie, which came free with my Mac. It's not an advanced piece of software. It's really, really simple bit of software. So you don't need a lot of skills. I mean, you need an imagination. You need to, you know, do music creation software, production software, Logic I use. So I'm not really that advanced. I'm pretty limited as a musician. But one thing I've got is passion. One thing I've got is you know, just the heart to be in the studio, doing that stuff like every day for 3 months in order to get a 5-minute video out to show people, please, for the love of God, question this, what you're being told, because it's utterly changed my life. That's why I'm putting so much effort into it, because it's utterly smashed my paradigm, changed my life. I have a completely different view now of who I am and what I am and where I am and all of that. So that's why I put so much passion into this, just because I don't know, you can't do it half-hearted, this sort of stuff. It's just really ignited a passion in me. So there's a lot that goes into it. And I wish people could see behind the scenes how much I put into it, because they only see a 5-minute video. They don't really see the guy working his ass off for 3 months. So it's just a passion.
I know it's like even just to try and get like an audio thing to match on like a 3-second clip. Sometimes it takes 5 minutes of something, you know, just to get that. So I can imagine the amount of takes and stuff you have to do. You know, it's not
There's
just
so much that ends up on the cutting room floor. There's so much that people don't see. So many takes that I don't use because I've got the lighting wrong, or it just wasn't funny when I played it back. So there's so much that you don't see. But there's a tremendous amount that goes into it. But you know, it's creativity, and I love that. And I love actually watching myself back after the 3 months. You can't help but look at it and be proud and go, you know. And it resonates with people. It changes people's lives. So you know, it's like I'll give myself a little pat on the back after I finish the video and go, you know what, that could really help someone understand the things that I believe I understand. You know.
Well, to me, you know, to say pride is one of the 7 deadly sins, but you know, there's nothing wrong with being proud of doing something you're passionate about that's actually out there with the purpose you've got behind it, you know, and saying, well done, because this is what we have to do. The idea is to bring heaven to earth. And to me, it's like being godly is the imagination and making that manifest in this world, you know, and we can have a heaven and earth here. I think one of your songs ends with everyone is special, and maybe, I don't know what it was, the NASA training's kind of stopping everyone from thinking that because we're just insignificant, you know. But if we're in the flat earth in the centre of the world, we're all special, we've all got talents, and your efforts should be inspiring others to go and do their thing. It might not be music, but it could be something, even growing food locally in the community or whatever.
I hope so. I hope it does that. I hope people, you know, have the same sort of, because the journey I've been on has been tremendous, like waking up to this stuff and putting it into creativity, and I hope it does inspire other people to do. I mean, you don't have to be a musician. I mean, you don't even have to be a musician to make music. You can just get some production software and drag and drop some samples.
Yeah, my son's quite good at that. My son makes amazing beats like that.
Yeah, I mean, you can just put a voiceover. So you can do anything. I mean, if you're a welder, you know, weld something. Why don't you weld the A map or something? Do a big, I don't know. There's something. Or if you're a florist, I'm sure you could do something with flowers that would be amazing. I'm sure you could contribute in some creative way. But this is just my way of expressing what I'm learning. I'm sure other people have their ways. If you're an accountant, do an incredible spreadsheet with the Earth curvature calculation. Do something incredible.
Funny said that. I mentioned this book to you. One of the authors, Dawn, the book I've got on here. She was an accountant, so she spent 10 years to research that. So that's what an accountant could do.
There you go. See, that's what she's done. She's come to these understanding, and now she's got that's a product of her research. The products of my research are in this album and in this album, and I haven't got the other one. But yeah, that's just how creativity flows, and that energy has to go somewhere, right? And then she's got a book. That's great.
I actually do have the other album, the live one you're talking about, but I couldn't buy that Flat Earth one. It wasn't available. Is it available now? Yeah, I had the trouble.
The CD? You mean the physical CD?
Yeah.
Oh, it might have sold out then. I'll have to restock them then.
Because I was playing one in the car, and it was so I got the live one. But the live one, can you want to tell us a wee bit about the gig? Do you do many gigs? And that was quite a big audience.
I'm so glad you said that. Right, you know that's not a live album.
All right, okay. Because there's a picture of you with a big audience and whatnot, you know.
Oh yeah, there's a picture. Is it real?
Very good.
It's not real. Right, okay, that's one of the points I was trying to make with the album. It's called Suspiciously Live and Unplugged.
All right, okay.
It's suspiciously, okay, right. So that was made entirely in my studio. Right. The voices that you hear at the end of that album, with everybody sing along to "I Don't Want to Talk About NASA," you can hear an audience there, all singing along. There's an apparent audience there, but it's not. I recorded myself probably 100 times, doing 100 different voices to replicate an audience that was singing along with me. So I'm singing in the studio, "I don't want to talk about NASA. I don't want to talk about NASA. I don't want to," doing as many different sounds as I could into a microphone to create that audience that makes it sound like they're singing along with me. And I, of course, added in loads of applause and whistles and blah, blah, blah. It sounded like a real gig. You thought it was a real gig.
I just got the CD chucked in my car. As far as I was concerned, it was a real gig, you know. So
yeah, well, it wasn't. I'm here to tell you it wasn't. That's why it's called Suspiciously Live and Unplugged. And it's another kind of indication that people shouldn't believe everything that they see, hear, listen, you know. So there you go. So it was all done in the studio. There was no live gig. There was no audience singing along with me. It was basically me getting, I don't know, it was I don't know, probably a lot of ego driven, really, because that's the kind of gig I want to do, you know, where everybody's just like really receptive and singing along. And I know that will never happen. One, because I don't really like gigging that much. I certainly don't like traveling, especially at the moment. I can reach more people from the comfort of my own home. So gigging is probably off the table for me. So I'm just, you know, I've done the gig. I certainly could. I've reached millions of people on my YouTube channel. That's an amazing thing for me. I couldn't have reached millions of people had I done the gig circuit. I can reach more people without having to bump into drunken assholes. Do you know what I mean? So I choose my home, you know.
And it's very difficult these days because most people, unfortunately, are not in a position to really get what you do to the level it needs to be got. Because seriously, I can't think of anyone in the world that's putting out the kind of stuff you're doing to the level you're doing it as a whole package. So and the 432 hertz music into that. So as far as I'm concerned, you're totally groundbreaking and out there on your own.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
But basically, it'd be amazing if I want to do comedy to an awakened audience, but because really, I preach to convert to do live streams every night. You really want to get to the other people, but they're the ones that want to listen to a word you say, you know. So you have to kind of preach to convert. It would be nice to do a gig, maybe with lots of your fans, but they could bring on a few stragglers, you know. But most of them be there for you. But as you say, it's hard to get that, especially these days.
Yeah, especially these days. I mean, I get a lot of requests to do gigs, and people say, "Can you come here?" And I just like, no, I can't think of any. I did a gig in Denver, Colorado, in 2018 or 2017, and that's really stressed the hell out of me. Not only going to America was just the jet lag and just the I get quite anxious before a gig, and it's like I get stressed, and so I went. It cost an awful lot of money as well. I hate traveling as it is. So that whole experience for me was like, oh, God, I didn't make any money. It cost me thousands to travel up just to get this message out. And I gave away 500 CDs, didn't charge for them. So I came back really poor financially, and I came back really poor health-wise. I was utterly stressed, and I'm like, this is not the way. And I was just really singing to 600 people and preaching to the choir. Yeah. So it's like, you know, I really, I can reach more people doing it here, you know, and it makes more sense. I think that's the way forward.
Which part of Spain are you living in?
Northern Alicante, Best move I ever made moving from England because. Well, I hate the weather in England, right? You must resonate with that a little bit, being a Scotsman.
I lived in Turkey for 12 years.
Ah, beautiful.
I just came back a couple of years ago, and yeah, I do miss the shorts and t-shirt lifestyle.
I love it. I mean, today, this afternoon, or before I came on, like for a couple of hours, I was sitting in my naya, they call it. It's like a conservatory, but it's like part of the villa that I have. And I'm facing the sun. I'm literally sunbathing like 2 hours before I came on. So, you know, having the sun around this time of year is so alien in Scotland and in the UK. You know, it's just like to be able to sunbathe with a pair of shorts at this time of year. It's like what a gift that is. I mean, we have about between 300 and 320 days of sunshine a year in this particular part of Spain where I live, and they call it one of the healthiest places to live in the world because of its microclimate. So it doesn't get too hot, it doesn't get too cold. It's a chasm apart from the UK. That pissy grey weather it's like that was driving me crazy. That was because I love the sun. So yeah, I absolutely love Spain. If you can just ignore the tyranny for 5 minutes, it's a beautiful place.
So what made you go out there? And like, I was wondering, if you got the studio and house set up, and then do you need to work and pay the bills, or are you paying the bills with Conspiracy Music Guru? Because
no, God, no, that doesn't pay the bills. I wish it did. I mean, if independent artists struggle enough, you know, with being independent without being signed to a label, let alone the ones like me that are singing about flat Earth and conspiracies. Do you think, you know, we're getting censored like? So there's no way I do make a bit of beer money from it, and I do sell a few CDs and T-shirts. So that's nice. But my bread and butter is actually ringtones. I have a ringtone business, and I make catchy little ringtones for iPhone. I'm very good at doing catchy stuff. So I pay the bills with that. That's my bread and butter. I already had that.
How much time a week does that take up?
Say that again, sorry.
How many hours a week do you do that? Like, does it take up a great deal of your time, or?
No, not so much anymore, because once you make the content, and I made the content over a couple of 3 years, I made thousands and thousands of ringtones over a few years, develop and build up this business, and when there was a demand for it, and I still have the content there that people will buy. So it's like it makes me money in my sleep, really. There's probably someone in China right now downloading one of my ringtones, which is really nice. So I already have that online income. So once you've got an income that's like a digital income, like you're making it online, you don't have a product, you don't have a warehouse, you don't have to use postage and packaging. I'm literally selling digital music. It's like selling thin air in a way. So once you're doing that, you can actually do that from anywhere in the world. Once we realize we have mobility here with this business, we thought, why the are we working in the UK in the pissing rain when there's somewhere really sunny where we could do it? So that was kind of our way of thinking. We went on holiday to Spain and thought, wow, this is really nice. We could work here. Let's do it. So that was about 7 years ago, and it's the best move we made.
When you say we, is that you and your current wife?
Yes, me and my wife. Yeah, she's very understanding. She has to be, right?
Yeah. Well, I got a girlfriend a couple of years ago, and she was into conspiracies. And the first day I mentioned the Anunnaki to her, and now she's quite far down the rabbit holes, you know.
Beautiful. Also, you dragged her kicking and screaming with you. Yeah?
She had about 5-6 months before COVID, so we were doing Freemasonic stuff and general conspiracy stuff, you know. She's probably watching your stuff and things like that. And then COVID hit, so she had a bit of preparation, and then they went right down there after that, you know. So she's
right. So she's right down the rabbit hole where you're right. What about how far is she with the shape of where we live? How far is she on that board?
Yeah. The only thing, what do you think about this? When people say flat Earth, have you heard of Martin Kenny and Santos Bonacci? Especially Martin Kenny talks about like the Antarctic wall. It's like there's a toroidal field around that spherical field, and that's how they get away with saying the Earth's sphere. But then outside of that, past the Antarctic, there's another layer of land. That's outer space, and then there's another layer of land, and it all comes from the centre, going out the way, in the cosmic egg. Have you looked at that? What do you think?
Oh yeah. He did an incredible presentation with Norbs. Norbs World did all the graphics. Yeah, and it was incredible. Yeah, it was an incredible presentation. Really, mind expanding. You know how much you could pin that as truth. I don't know. I do believe there are outer lands. The cosmic egg theory, I don't know. Astrologically, it seems to work. I mean, he put an awful lot of work into that. Martin Kenny's now in Portugal. He's got this like kind of community. He's got very
the Pineal Foundation.
Yeah, that's it. The Pine Hill Foundation. He's kind of really cut himself off from society, and fair play. You know, once you understand that the whole life, you really want to cut away from society.
But to me,
so he's doing that whole thing.
That's a brilliant way to demonstrate how it can be done. And they're setting up a manifesto, and then people, it's like they're trying to make a template for people to follow. And I think instead of fighting the government, you know, because we have to realize the government are our enemy, and they've infiltrated. Technically, I don't know if you know about Article 61 and how in 2001 that was implicated from the Magna Carta, Article 61, and since then there've been no official power that the government's had until people get a redress. And there's so many people telling the police and courts, myself included, of all this treason, and they're just ignoring it. So they're all like, you know, total pirates in control of the fucking sinking ship or whatever, and they're just ignoring us completely with their own laws and bullshit, and everyone is the legal name. And even if you're trying to fight being the sovereign, it's quite difficult.
Yeah, dude, it's so difficult. I've been down that rabbit hole as well. I defended myself for 3 years in a copyright battle, and I did it all from the common law standpoint. Did commercial liens and everything.
Right.
It was probably the worst 3 years of my life, but I learned so much. One of the things I learned: you cannot use that common law stuff, that sovereign stuff, in their courts. You can't. No. They don't recognise it. You have to go straight to where they recognise private international law. You have to go right to the top Supreme Court. Otherwise, you'll just they will just dismiss every time.
But the whole idea is, when you do know it, you don't go into their courts and you hold them personally accountable, because they're calling the legal fiction in the court, and you're not the legal fiction. So if you know your paperwork and stuff, you can, you know, if you've not committed an actual crime, or somebody's caused harm and as a victim, then everything else is statutes and legislation that doesn't actually apply to you.
Yeah.
So basically, if you know who you are and you know how to do the paperwork, you said earlier, when you go into court, it's a game, and it's all its legal name fictions. All
it's why they call it a court. They're battering over to you, you're battering to them. Then there's another question, and then a question. It is literally a game, and they use their own language, so you don't even know what they're saying. You know, most of the time when they say the word must, you must do this, you must do that, must. Okay. Look up the legal definition of must. It means maybe, maybe not. You know, people don't realise that. And there's so many, like you were saying earlier, as king and understand, and all of these kind of. It's just like you've got to. You're telling me I've got to learn a whole new law and a new language as well to go in and do battle with you? Like that.
Yeah, that's why you want to stay at their courts as much as possible.
Yeah. Well, that's I do. I'm now of the opinion that I'm just keeping my head low, because I've tried to battle with these people, but once you realise that the barristers, the judges, they're all playing this demonic, symbolic, ritualistic game with the robes and the way the judge sits like 3 feet higher than you. That's because he's bigger and he's
that's because
perceived authority.
It's also because it's on a different plane. There's a really interesting episode of Happy Days where they demonstrate how a court works. There's a guy called Mark Christopher who does things about the live life claim and stuff like that. And they demonstrate how the judge is on a different plane, and for it was Fonzie or something, he had to go and touch the judge's table, and then that brings him into the same plane. So he's not actually hearing anything you're saying.
Wow.
He's also got the wig on, and that covers their evil thoughts up from God, you know. And it's the wolf in sheep's clothing with the wigs as well. And they wear black because they're honouring the dead, because you're the dead legal fiction sitting there in the dock.
And here's the other thing. Do you know that some of those wigs are made from real human hair, dead man's hair?
Yeah.
So there's a spiritual thing going on, an energetic thing going on in these courthouses that so many people completely unaware just goes. The demonic energy coming out of these courts is like, I mean, I've been in them courts, and it's a frightening, demonic place to be. I mean, you think of how many lives they've ruined in those courthouses every single day. It's like a slaughterhouse. Bring them in, slaughtered. There's your life ruined. There's your life ruined. Next case, your life ruined. It's disgusting.
Here was me when I was 17. So I got a car, went through to Falkirk. I had about 20-mile drive home. I had a couple of vodkas. I went to my mate's house. I said, could I stay the night? He said, no, you can't. I was like, some mate anyway. I was driving back just before I got on the motorway. One of my headlights was on side light. The other one was on main beam. Police stopped me just a bit over the limit. That's me into the cells. Next week I'm getting into court. Lost my license for a year. Had to move from one town to another. Like, technically I shouldn't have been drink driving, but there was no victim. There was no crime.
Yeah, there's no crime.
You know, I had basically it could have destroyed my life. I had to leave home when I was 18, basically, and all kinds of shit happened for there. But I don't know if it was good or bad. Made me grow up quick. But anyway, that's the kind of thing that happens. Even the speeding fines and parking fines and bus lane fines, all this is no victim, but they're totally getting revenue from it. If it's like, they could use another deterrent, like do the shopping for an old people, help the care home for a week or something like that,
It's a business. It's a business. That's all it is. Right. That's why rich people can just do what they want. They could just pay the fine. It's business, really, isn't it? It's and it's disgusting.
And there's a Freemasonic element as well these days of, if you are a business and trying to succeed. I know people that had their business destroyed because they weren't a Freemason, even though their business was better at doing the service than the one that was a Freemason, So there's so much of that goes on in society. Join the club and people get offered it, and obviously the right ones get promoted. Like, I was just thinking, Tony Blair popped in my head there, how he's been nominated for a Sir. These people in politics as well, they spot the ones with the psychopathic personality tendencies, get them into the rituals, and then before you know it, they're a living demon. And you hear about Tony Blair getting nominated for a Sir,
Yeah, I know, because there's petitions that are trying to strip him of his knighthood and all that going around, and I just don't see any point in that, because it will be, it's not like we've ever had any accountability for these people, for these war criminals. But didn't Obama get the Peace Prize as well?
No, it's another joke.
I mean, it's a fucking joke, isn't it? The whole thing. I mean, it's not like Hillary is ever going to be brought to trial, or I mean, is Ghislaine? Is there any? Is that even happening? Because all we've really been given is a bunch of drawings. Right, really? So I question that.
Well, here was the one, somebody said, like, all she said when she got given the thing was she leaned forward and took a glass of water. And somebody done a numerology for glass of water, and it was 47. And that's the exact angle that the Freemasonic, the square and compass is at. So you don't know if you're doing these symbols all the time. You're talking through, I believe they are talking through.
When you go looking into the symbology, there's always something that comes up. Like, is it all so coincidence? I don't know, but I don't know. I mean, is anybody really being held accountable for these crimes? No, I don't think so, because it's never really happened, has it? We don't see any accountability, so I don't see why we're going to be seeing any accountability now. We're told that, she's been... I don't know. Let's see how the thing with Prince Andrew unfolds. But I got a feeling.
Do you not think that all news is like theatre? It's like a complete theatre show.
Completely. 100%. That's exactly how I see it. It's a cartoon, isn't it? It's just like when you can see the narrative. I mean, what's the other one that really made me chuckle the other day? They've discovered the first case of the combined flu and the corona. They've called it flurona. Have you seen the flurona variant? It's like, come on, this is now. It's like, who's making this shit up? Like, it's just all theatre. It's utter theatre.
What's your view on the virus? Did you basically know from the start it was bullshit? Basically, I seen Wuhan, people falling down. I thought, it's 5G or something like that. There's no way it's a virus. Then I discovered Don and David. Then it was like telling people from the get-go, no contagion, no virus. But how did you kind of wake up to it?
I didn't first jump on the whole there's no contagion. At the time when the COVID narrative was being spat, it was like I didn't understand what contagion was there. I knew it was bullshit. Absolutely, I knew it was bullshit. Did you know because at that point,
before that, yeah?
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. I was always I was relatively woke, to use that word. Before, so I was pretty armed. I'd already been looking into the lies of NASA, and I knew that big fucking lies were possible. Right? I knew on a grand scale, on a massive scale, I knew that big lies. I knew that was possible. So when this narrative came along, I was like, here we go. I know this is bullshit. Yeah. I didn't know anything about contagion, but when you start looking into the narrative, and you mentioned Andrew Kaufman and the exosomes and all of that, and when you start really understanding the contagion and germ theory, like, oh my God, that's another one they've us with germ theory, like, oh my God, what a huge like. So now
germ theory.
It's amazing that some of this stuff is so amazing, because now I feel absolutely comfortable walking in a room full of 30 or 40 or 50 people that have all got snotty noses and colds, and I will happily kiss every single one of those people and know I'm absolutely fine, because I know that contagion doesn't work that way. Exactly. Like, we detox. That's what a virus is.
Yeah.
Right? And that is so powerful to know that information.
So if anything, the COVID narrative for me has been like actually a real paradigm shatterer for me, and you know, it's how you handle this information, isn't it? I think, but for me, it's been so empowering.
Well, this is what I think is happening with the COVID. It's so obvious bullshit, and it's woke me up to basically, you know, learning about no contagion, and you are then responsible for your own health. People should be celebrating. It's like, oh, I can't catch things from other people. Then it's up to you what you put into your own body. So people don't actually like that responsibility. They would rather blame someone else, you know. Oh,
it's quite hard, but once you realise you're responsible, like, because we've always given our power over, because like, I'll just put what I want in my body. If I get sick, I'll go to him and he'll sort it out. That's what we do. We give our power away. As soon as I'm like, okay, so I have to be responsible now. So like, okay, there goes alcohol, right? And then you start learning about wheat and bread and how demonic wheat is. You're like, oh, I can't eat bread again. Actually, it's like, and then you go like, oh, what can... And then I've got this huge responsibility to have smoothies and like abstain from. I like a drink, don't get me wrong, but you know, so like my habits have changed completely. It's been very, very empowering in a way.
Yeah, this is the start, I believe, of it's like almost a gift, because once you learn how your body works and nutrition works and what you put into your body, then it's not just that; it's also your thoughts. Your thoughts are things as well, and also the clothes and other things. There's dye from your clothes can go in you. I mean, that's taking it to extremes a little bit, but essentially there is other ways that all toxins can get in us. And another thing about toxins, while we're on the topic, they made a video called "Look Up" about the chemtrails, and you never done that as conspiracy music guru. You done that? Did we talk about this before or on air? I can't remember.
Yeah, we spoke about this before we came on, didn't we? It's just. Yeah, that's such a serious,
because that's like subject as well coming into us, you know.
Yeah, exactly. And the last couple of days, when we first moved to Spain about 7 years ago, we were like, look at the skies. We would look at each other and go, look, it's so clear here, like this, because we were aware of chemtrails back in the UK, and we used to look up and go, these bastards, these bastards. But when we came to Spain, it was like blue skies. But now, in the last, they've ramped it up. In the last few days. I mean, I can see for miles on my bed. I'm quite high up. I can see for miles. The last few days, you can't see shit. It's just this. And I've been watching. I've been really looking up and observing and watching the chemtrails dissipate. And you can tell the difference between a contrail and a chemtrail very easily. If you just look up, as my song says. And it's just utterly disgusting to me that they are doing this. It's like the poisoning of humanity, isn't it? It's like under the guise of geoengineering. So I tried to. It was so shocking. I tried to make a song about it, and
it's unbelievable.
As we said before we came on, like, how do you make a song about the elite dropping heavy metals from planes and poisoning humanity? How do you make a song about that as conspiracy music guru and try and make it funny? It's like we said before, try and make a song about cancer. How's that going to go down? It never goes down well, you know. Yeah. So I tried to be myself and tried to, you know, took the shades off and looked straight down the camera lens and tried to be all sort of serious about, you know, and it was a very touching song. It's a very, it's called "Look Up" by Conspiracy Music Guru. If you want to go and look it up, it's quite a nice, touching story to that.
But what I like, you just want to look at your stuff. You're very bang on the money with the things you do, like "Look Up" and the Bob Dylan one, and like "I Told You So." What you do is very laser focused on the exact thing that you're, you know. Like
you have to kind of get, because you've only got 5 minutes to get your point across in a song, or some of my songs are a bit longer than that. Because you've only got this limited time, you have to go, right, I've got to get all this information and I've got to cram it into this 5 minutes. So that means every line of the song has to be truth. You have to try and get a narrative out of it and get a story, like a heartfelt story, and get all the information in there as well. It's quite tough. So, but yeah, you have to sort of basically learn. I had to sort of revisit the subject of chemtrails a little bit and learn the bullet points, right? What do I want to say? What's in this stuff? What's it doing? Try and get it into a song. So yeah, it's basically like doing the research, getting the bullet points, putting it into a poem and trying to make it work as a song.
I was going to ask if you've done specific research for each song, or if it was just your general knowledge kind of came out in the paper and then maybe you've done a wee bit to fill it out.
I think before I make a song, I have to revisit. I mean, I've got general knowledge about gravity and general knowledge about, you know, the NASA stuff and general knowledge about satellites. You know, there's a general thing there. But when you're putting it into a song, you want to put specifics and you want to make you want to put as much truth in every verse as possible. So you have to kind of revisit the subject and listen to a few more presentations and interviews on these specific subjects. As someone might say, You know, a particular line about Sataloons was great. You know, it was great. It is a great word, Sataloons. So yeah, I don't know. I think I have to revisit the subject a little bit and you know, get the bullet points into a song. But yeah, it's not. It doesn't just come out. There's research. There's a lot of work behind the scenes. People think, oh, you just write it and then just do the video. You're a genius. No, I lose sleep over this stuff. Like, you know, trying to make every line as good as possible. And what am I going to do in the next scene? How am I going to position myself? And literally, some of the songs I've been bending over backwards, literally bending over backwards for the truth here. So yeah, it doesn't come easy.
You're upside down in a couple of ones as well, you know. You're upside
down.
Well,
that's camera trickery. It's, you know, you just, well, you do it, but you go upside down on that, and then you turn the camera around. And all the NASA trickery, they're great at it. When you understand how they do it, they don't just use one method. They're using harnesses, of course. They're using green screen. They're using an Argos system, which is harness system. They're using all sorts of
underwater
different sort
of bubbles.
Yeah, of course. In the neutral buoyancy lab, they're doing the underwater stuff as well. So there's so many ways to trick you. But you know, and I've looked at a lot of them, and it's just fascinating to me, and that's why I put that in the videos. You know, with the harnesses and making a joke out of it. Because once you see the original footage that I put in those videos, and you actually see the guy tugging on the other guy's harness like that, you're like, what did I just see? What, the guy's got a fucking harness? Again,
when they watch it in the news, other people, then they can't help but notice it now because I've seen it in your video, you know.
Once you see it, that was one of the big things for me. Seeing why are they using harnesses on the ISS? And why are they using harnesses on they're clearly on like this thing on the moon? It's like the guy can't pick up his tool because there's tension there. He's trying to pick his thing up like that, and he can't because it's like, and you see it and you're like, of course, like. What a sire, but how amazing it is to see it. But that was the one of the big things for me was seeing the harnesses. That's why I made so much fun of it in a couple of my videos, like one specifically called Puppet Show, where I'm like that and literally, you know, if that's what we're looking at, it's a puppet show. Right?
There's also, you mentioned the lunar landing module as well, and also the phone call to Nixon. They're on the moon and calling Nixon. Give us a break. You know?
What's the line in that? So it's like, and how about that phone call that Nixon made to the moon that's 250,000 miles away? When I can't get a signal on my cell phone line, I guess phones were better in '69. Yeah, it's little nuggets like that make you go, yeah, hold on. He called the moon 250,000 miles away from a landline. Right, okay, yeah. It's just, you know, how we swallowed that shit is laughable to me now.
This television is obviously hypnotic. You know, I think it was made to resonate with the human brain specifically. You know, so you see young children fun of it with their mouth open because it's just bypassing a lot. You try and tell people when they're watching the BBC News, they're getting told something on a conscious level, but if you understand NLP and how they use language, they're talking on subliminally and embedding so much shit. Just to like make things accepted, like obviously a vaccine is a good thing, you know, that prevents illness, and they talk about it as if that's a
safe and effective. Safe and effective is the NLP for that. So, and build back better. And dude, that's just. Let alone the flicker rate that's going on, and that 60 hertz that's, you know, puts you into an alpha state, and there's some deep technology behind it. You can Google the patterns on this stuff. It's mind control technology. You try telling somebody that their television is a mind control device. You try telling them that. You try telling the NPC on the street that, oh, by the way, your television is mind control. Right down to the technology and right down to the patterns. Yeah. They're gonna.
Even the stuff we did before the news, it's called the 9 o'clock news. All that very, very amazingly programmed to get
the spirals.
The
spirals. And there's globe after globe after globe after globe. Like particularly in the 90s and the 80s, when there was always, before the news was globe, world news, globe. Now I see it. There's globes everywhere.
Yeah. You've got to get that into the school right off the bat, you know. You've done a good one about that in one of your videos about telling your dad what you learned in school that day, because the teacher, you know, you're going to believe the teacher.
Yeah, that was don't believe in gravity. I remember when I learned in school about gravity. No, was it that one? No, it was don't let them take your mind. That was it. Well, we all believed in that spinning ball.
Aye.
Indoctrination blinded us all.
from the very first day that we went to school, they put a globe in your face, and that thing looked cool. The teacher explained how it all worked. Of course, it sounded so berserk, but who was I to question it? Because I was just a tiny kid.
Oh, it goes on. That's a great story. It's about a 9-minute song. That yeah, but it basically just goes. It tells the story of as soon as you go into school, globe.
Yeah,
as soon as you open a book, globe. As soon as you turn on the television, globe.
Yeah.
It's just
another one of yours I love. Well, I love them all, to be honest, but I don't want to talk about Nasser. It's just that difficulty of getting some truth to your friends on whatever topic, you know. I don't want to talk about COVID. I don't want to talk about whatever because it's so fucking hard. And then you get punched at the end of it as well because they're violent. If you try and wake them up out of their bubble, then you get angry.
And that song was born out of an experience that I had, a couple of experiences actually. Trying to tell people this stuff is really, I don't open my mouth anymore until I've really gauged the situation. When I've really gauged, because I learned from trying to you just come straight out with flat Earth. You just come straight out with moon landing, Apollo hoax. People are just gonna
never go full.
They're gonna get angry, and they do. I got to the point where I don't want to talk about this anymore. And I was around my buddy's Mike Wilkerson. Shout out Stellium7, by the way. Go and look at his channel. He does some great stuff on Titans. And we was round, and he sort of encouraged me to make a song about it. He said, "Why don't you make one of them country songs where you just like so pissed off with all of these people that you can't reach that you want to?" And sort of I don't want to talk about NASA was born then. It's like,
every time I open my stupid mouth, something about NASA comes flying out. I don't want to talk about NASA.
It's just like this country song where it just goes through. It's like, they believe what's the line in the song? You'd have to listen to the song. When there's just it's the guy's frustration of trying to tell people the truth, and
everyone just believes the TV papers.
Because because
they believe the papers and the TV instead.
It's again, it's a comedy song, and people look at it on that level. But when you really know, when you've really tried to tell people this stuff, and it's that you can see what I'm trying to say in that song. There's always an underlying narrative in my songs. Like, you get the passion where I'm coming from, right?
Totally. Speaking of passion, I told you so. You put so much in that one because that's like a mass of different theories. You just rammed it in there. I told you so, you prick. I told you. I told you so.
That's exactly. Yeah, you got it right there. You got it. It was basically seeing all this stuff unfold, and it's like, this is what I was saying like years ago about this. I told. But no one listens. No one listens. It's really, really hard. But this is why I use music as a to communicate. Because my family won't listen to me. Even my friends, I don't have those sort of friends. All my friends are woke now, thank you. But I had a period where I had friends that I was trying to get this stuff, and I'm like, see, you see, I told you. So it was time to write that song. And remember when I told you about the New World Order? And I specifically had in my mind as well. I remember being in the car with my brother, trying to tell him about the Georgia Guidestones, trying to tell him about the fluoride in the water. And I remember him looking at me from the driver's seat, man, like making me feel like I was a prick. Like, he just thought. So that's why there's so much passion in that song. Like, remember when I told you about the Georgia Guidestone? Remember that? It's like really shouting, again, I use music as a way to get out frustration in a way. So it's very therapeutic. I can tell you that.
Well, totally. Even just listening to it's therapeutic, for being doing yours.
Because we all feel the same. We've all been through it. We're all like, look, here's a bunch of things I've been saying for years, and it's all coming true. Yeah. So I hate to say it, but I told you so. I mean, you can't help but say I told you so, can you? Right? I mean, I can't, but so that's why I had to make that song, and it resonated with so many people. I'm glad I made it. Really, I didn't think it would be as as fast growing as it has been, but I'm very glad I made that.
And then I don't know, I usually just do about an hour, so maybe you want to come back sometime, but I'd like to talk a little bit about the 432 Hertz album you made and the process behind that, and the kind of what the difference is between the 440 and the 432. How would you explain that to somebody who hadn't heard it? And because it's like,
It's a difficult. It's one of them things that you can't learn overnight. It's like trying to explain the bullet points of flat Earth to people. They have to go away and do their own research into the manipulation of music.
You've got a video called "The Bastardization of Music" on your channel.
Yeah, I've made a couple of videos on my channel about this idea, and I've tried to get it into sort of 10-minute videos and 5-minute. I tried to make it sort of sort of condensed as possible, but it's quite a vast thing. It's trying to get like the globe deception in 5 minutes. You can't really do it. You're gonna have to like trust me and go and do a bit of research on it. There's a book called The 440 Enigma, I think it's called, by Elsie Lewis or something like that, and it's only a little very, very thin book, and it kind of explains why we were using 432 before, why we're using 440 now, who was responsible, why the change was made, the spiritual implications of it all, who funded it, that kind of thing. The Rockefellers would be behind were funding the change from 432 to 440, so that should be a huge red flag. Cymatically, you can look at the difference between 432 and 440 and see that if we are made up of 70% water, then cymatically I would like my water to be behaving in those sort of coherent patterns rather than the muddy ones we see with 440 hertz.
Yeah,
I've had incredible feedback from this album as well. This is the album we're talking about, by the way. It's called True Solfeggio, if I can get it in. And it's basically an album of instrumentals, and it's all tuned to 432 hertz, and it uses embedded solfeggio frequencies in it as well. And what I can say is, from my experience, from the feedback I've got, I've probably sold about 1,000 of these albums, not a lot, but I don't ask for feedback, but people give me feedback. People will email me privately or on Facebook and say that their children will sleep when this album's on, when no other music will do. Their pets are calm when no other music will do that. Their plants are growing exponentially when they put this, but no other music would. Or some guy, he always had a problem with pent up anger and aggression, and he said that when he listened to this, he was in floods of tears. And so there's something about this, from a science. I've done a scientific experiment, if you like, by making this album and putting it out there, engaging the feedback. And all I can say is there's got to be something to it from the feedback I've been getting. And when you start looking into the conspiracy bit, who's behind it, why they changed it, there's a there. It's not something I can explain in 5 minutes, but they have bastardized our music from a tuning perspective, from a frequency perspective, because they attack everything. It's a multi-pronged attack. They attack the air, they attack the language, they attack the food, they attack the water. Do you think they don't attack the music? Oh, well, absolutely they do. 100% they do. So if you do a bit of research on the change from 432 hertz to 440 hertz, and try not to use search engines like Google, because they won't offer you much. When you know that Google are censoring this information, you know that there's a there. So it's fascinating to me, and I make all my music in 432 hertz, and I know that I get something special out of it. I know there's a conspiracy there. I'm a musician. I feel it. I feel the difference. I feel the sustain, and I get all the goosebumps and everything with it's how music should be. It should be in this frequency that seems to have a relationship with the golden ratio and nature and that kind of thing. But yeah, it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful conspiracy. It's certainly opened my eyes and certainly changed the frequency that I make my music in now. And I think this is the proof. I get an awful lot of feedback about that. And so I think I'm on the right track with it, certainly.
Well, it's all about dissonance, isn't it? Because it's not harmonic to the human body. So like punk sounds and stuff will have that extra rawness to it, but creates that angst. And that's not necessarily a good thing for humans to feel, I was listening to your interview with Santos Bonacci, and you played a track from it. So I was kind of doing something else on the computer, and I was listening to the interview, and then that music came on, and I didn't really know. I wasn't paying attention to where it came from. All of a sudden, I'm like, that's really interesting music. That it kind of stuck out. So I was like, what is that? Because I wasn't paying attention to how it came on. And I was like,
it's very strange. Some of the reactions that I've been getting, it's very strange. I mean, it moved something. It moved a woman so much that she wanted to give birth to it. So she gave birth to the track number 4, which is called Heart, which is like this heartbeat all the way through, and it's a real mellow track. The wife and I got married to that song as well. We got married at home, and we played 432 hertz music all throughout the day. And the atmosphere in our home that day was something. And there was a guy that posted a post the other day. He was playing in his band at 4:40, playing this stuff, and no one was reacting. And they decided to, on stage, live on stage, tune their instruments to 4:32. They started playing, and they started to see a different reaction within the crowd.
Wow, that's amazing.
Right, so there's something to it. I mean, I can't quite put yes, you can look at cymatics. Yes, you can look at the experiment that I've done. There are actually scientific experiments, and I've got like a scientific experiment that was done with about half a dozen people using these solfeggio healing frequencies, and they saw health benefits after listening to these particular frequencies. I mean, you could start shouting placebo, placebo, placebo. I would want to see better studies done with split testing and that kind of thing. But from what I've seen so far, it's like now I see 440 as this. Like, I don't want to put the radio on in my car. I don't want to listen to CDs from the mainstream. It's like, I know that's like, I see it like as 440 hertz as being the fluoride of the music industry. It's like this dirty, stressful sound. When you start looking into the numerology of 44 and 440, it's like this stressful. It always means work or stress or something like that. It's like all these little red flags for me keep popping up. It's like, well, I know I'm doing the right thing, so I'll continue to do it.
I think 44 is
they'll be the naysayers.
Sorry, I think 44 is kill and murder as well. So yeah, it ties in so many levels, all these things.
That's interesting because, you know, when you get these teenagers that listen to nothing but thrash metal in 440 hertz, and then all of a sudden they have a need to go kill themselves or their friends for whatever reason. Yeah, I don't know. It's a conspiracy, and I love conspiracies.
You ever seen a movie called Josie and the Pussycats? You should watch.
No, it rings a bell, right?
Josie and the Pussycats. It's like about a teenage girl band, and it's all about how they put subliminal messages into the CDs that they do. They've all got this control center. It's very, very revealing, but it's done in a fun, light-hearted movie. So it's worth the watch.
Yeah, I bet there's a lot of truth to that as well. There's been a lot of whistleblowers that have spoken about what goes on behind closed doors.
John Todd, who used to work in the industry, and he said they used to do.
There you go.
Witchcraft.
I was just about to say that, John Todd. Yeah, they were doing the rituals over the master of the CD, you know, and God knows if that has any power. They certainly believe it does. That's what they do. But yeah, there's some horrific things going on in the industry. And we could probably talk about that for hours. What's going on lyrically and musically with the music that we listen to, and the CIA ops and all the stuff coming out of Tavistock, the Beatles and Zappa and all of that stuff. It's just it's music is not what most people think it is, and thankfully I'm waking up to that. Yeah.
Well, they say Lucifer was the god of music or whatever, the angel of music. You know, Lucifer, the fallen devil, whatever. One of your songs, you actually say you found that the devil was real. What did you mean by that?
I found out that guy's real, and I'll tell you, man, that's a bitter pill.
I don't know what I meant by that. I think it was coming to the discovery that this is a created realm. If it's a created realm, and we've been lied to about the globe, then there must be a creator. And it seems that the powers that be are doing everything they can to discredit this said creator. They're trying to hide the creator's existence. They're trying to keep you as far removed from God as possible, let alone what they're doing with these mRNA messenger and oh my man, that's another. So it's kind of like there's evil at it. It was kind of my way of recognizing that there is such evil in the world that most people can't see. You have to recognize the evil. You have to recognize there's bad guys in the world doing really fucking bad things. Yeah. And I think I recognize that whether there's a devil, I don't think there's a man with horns and a pitchfork. I don't think that, but I recognise the evil. Like, you know, that was a bitter pill. I think that's what I was trying to say in that line. You know, when I found out that guy was real, that guy, whatever you want to call him, the devil. There's just this evil. It's there and it's working. You know, it's doing its thing, isn't it? And I recognise that most people don't.
I tend to think that this. You mentioned spiritual war either before or after, but basically this is a spiritual war, and the evil is showing itself, and it's up to the people then to, you know, be good. It's a choice. Are you going to follow the evil, or are you going to stand up for good? And it's, as the evil becomes more apparent, it's almost like the creator is allowing the evil to serve the purpose to wake the rest of us up to stand against the evil, kind of thing. And maybe throughout many lifetimes, maybe all play different sides throughout history and our souls here to play all sides of it. But right now, the evils in the world, and if you have any conscience or heart, it's your duty to stand up, I think, and do something, you know.
Most people, a lot of people won't see it. There's a quote that I love by Da Vinci who says there are three classes of people: those that see when they are shown, and those that do not see. There will always be that class of people that just for whatever reason, even though you put it right in their face, this is what we're doing, and they're pretty much doing that. We're writing about it. We've even got books on Amazon. We're showing you. We're telling you. Go look on the CDC website. We're telling you what we're doing, and they still will never see it. They will never see it. Ever, 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 ever. So there's always going to be. So I think this is like a culling in a way. It's like, you know, you almost have to. There may be a brilliant plan behind this whole thing. There may be like there's a good, well-intended reason for all of this. I can't see it, but you know, I grab onto a little bit of hope. But maybe these people don't deserve to be around if they can't see that they are being f***ed on a daily basis and they still can't see it. Like, who needs them kind of people around?
Well, I certainly don't. I mean, I'm quite vocal in that. I mean, I do have empathy, and you know, got to have some of that, and you understand the brainwashing and the life war of attrition on them. But after 18 months of this, if you've not figured out that, you know, there's maybe some mistruths coming out the radio, and to even want to question it, that's the thing that gets me, the just total non-questioning, you're an idiot, well, you deserve what's coming, basically. And unfortunately, a lot of people are going to have to get the fallout of that when people start getting ill around them more and more, because even the football deaths and stuff are in your face.
And they still don't see it, though. That's it's right there. I mean, people are literally dropping like flies on the football field. And like, how many hundreds of athletes have we lost now, clutching their chest live on TV? And we're not asking questions, as there's no inquiry, or people don't see, well, could this possibly be from the backs? Well, I just.
Matt Letizia is at least speaking out. He's an ex-football player who's saying there should be at least some kind of, you know, inquiry at least. Hello. So, Alex, I've had you for an hour. It's been a pleasure. You're welcome to come on at any time. We'll maybe talk about that after the show. Is there anything?
That was quick. I really enjoyed it.
If you anything you want to wrap up on at this stage, any work you're coming out with soon, or anything you like to promote?
No, not really. I mean, if you want to find out more about my work, you have to remember 3 words: conspiracy, music, guru. If you put that into iTunes, you'll find me. Put that into YouTube. Probably YouTube is the best place because you can see all the visuals, all my music videos, which are quite entertaining and thought-provoking. So Conspiracy Music Guru on YouTube is the best place to find me. And then you can look at my links in the descriptions if you want to look at the music and that. But no, I mean, I just want to leave you with question everything. Because when you do, you'll never again believe what you've been taught.
Great stuff. Cool, man. If you want to hang around, I'll speak to you after we go off air. And everyone else,
totally, mate. Will do.
Thanks very much for watching. I appreciate your time, and we'll be back again sometime soon. Cheers for now. Bye-bye.
Cheers.